So shares versus bonds, what is the difference? Okay, so shares, or stocks as some people call them, are effectively ownership of a company. So if you were to buy shares in Apple, for example, then you would be owning part of Apple that's proportionate to the number of shares that you bought. Usually with shares also comes some kind of voting rights. So when it comes to making key decisions, such as, who the chairman of the company is, or, what the dividend should be, if that gets paid, then often as a shareholder, you will have voting rights and you'll be able to decide what you would like with these kind of decisions. Then your gains on an investment in shares typically come through two avenues. So the first one is capital growth. So as you know, stock prices can go up and down, and therefore if the stock price goes up and you have invested in that particular company, then you will benefit from that increase in value. And then secondly is the dividend. So sometimes companies pay a dividend, which is where when the company makes a profit, they will then share this with the shareholders, and as you've bought shares in the company, you are entitled to a portion of those profits. Okay, so now bonds. Bonds are effectively debt. So if you are buying a corporate bond, you are loaning money essentially to that company, and in return, you'll be paid some kind of fixed interest payment, and then at the end of the maturity of the bond, you'll get the principal back, which is effectively the amount that you lent the company. So the key difference here between shares and bonds in a company is that if you are a bondholder, then you're a creditor to that company, meaning you don't get to vote on key decision makers because you're not a part owner of the company. However, this does usually come with one benefit, which is slightly reduced risk, because if a company is being wound up, then the creditors, i.e. the bondholders, are always paid before the shareholders. Obviously, this doesn't mean that all corporate bonds are low risk. That's far from the case. Often, bonds are rated by either Moody's or Standard & Poor or Fitch, and depending on that credit rating, that will show you how risky the bond is. So a company like Microsoft, for example, will have a very strong credit rating and therefore need to pay back interest on their corporate bonds at a lower rate than, for example, some very high risk company which could be issuing junk bonds.